everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the One of Us podcast. Today we are continuing our series in our counterculture series. So today we're going to be talking about the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector, really just taking it home on the premise of self-righteousness versus humility and kind of what we're called to in our faith to live counterculturally in this area. So Juan, why don't you give us a quick little synopsis, quick little summary of this section. It's in Luke 18:9 through 14 for those who want to reference it back.
Yeah, of course. So basically, I'll actually read it because it's not a lot of verses, but it's talking about two people in the synagogue praying to God. And it says, he also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves, that they were righteous and treated others with contempt. And then Jesus says, two men went up into the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, prayed thus, God, I thank you that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week, I give tithes to all I got. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift up his eyes to heaven, beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to the house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted.
That last verse, if anything says countercultural more than that verse, I don't know what is.
Well, I think based off like the first, because I think a lot of this has to do with like confidence and arrogance and pride, obviously. But where do you guys draw that line between like being arrogant and being confident in yourself?
Well, I think the distinction is our confidence is in Christ, really not in ourselves. So I think that's the important piece here. Like this Pharisee had confidence in themselves, and their abilities, and I think it goes back to this human nature to want to earn things. And in God's currency, in God's kingdom, you can't earn things; it's freely given. So having the humility of knowing, like, I receive God's mercy, and I don't earn anything. So I think that's the distinctive piece.
Yeah, and I would even say, like, with confident, like, the difference between confidence and pride to me is someone can be confident in knowing what they're capable of, knowing who they are. And a prideful person, I think, is going to go around and want to tell everyone about it. Like, I'm this, I'm that, I've done this, I've done that. And they want everyone to know. Rather, a confident person can be like, I know I did that, but I don't need to tell everyone that I did it. I know that it was good. I know got the glory or whatever the circumstance may be, but I don't need to tell every single person to build myself up, to build my confidence, because I know I already have, like, I already am confident.
And I think the root of pride is what is like showcased to the world, but I feel like the root of it is insecurity. And so when we're insecure, some people may try to puff themselves up to make them feel better or have the praise of others. But when you are secure in who you are and your identity in Christ and what you're called to do and who you are to be, there's no need to have pride because you already get that validation from being a son of or daughter of the King.
I have a very genuine question, because I can think of some moments. I mean, I feel like all of us have experienced pride in some ways, but something that I do find myself doing a lot is having the imposter syndrome. And I know that this is more like work related, but I do think that's also like a self-worth issue. And I sometimes forget that it's more common than not, but I always find it like, I don't know, do you guys struggle with imposter syndrome? I guess is more my question.
Before we go through it, do you mind explaining it? Because I actually don't know fully what it is.
Yeah, me
So
neither.
I'm surprised. So it's like you don't feel worthy or like that you're actually capable of doing the thing that you're kind of signing up for. So for example, I have it a lot with work, and I know a lot of people also have that with work. Why are you guys laughing?
Sorry, in my head I'm formulating a response, but my phrase was going to be fake it till you make it. No one's got to know. Honestly, they only know if you tell them. So Juan is the only one here who should not be faking it, because Juan is a nurse.
In accordance to the state of Nevada, I plead the fifth.
Because I talked to this like guy that might be my mentor, and he was telling me like some big name people in like Hollywood that have that imposter syndrome. So like I feel like I'm more on that side than the prideful, but I do see like areas in my life where I do feel more prideful. But yeah, I wanted to know like if you guys experienced that and in what areas in your life.
I experience that sometimes also in my work setting, like in this position that I have now. Sometimes I'm like, why did they hire me? I'm confused. Like, all of these people are so qualified, have so much more experience than I do in certain areas. And I'm like, okay, nice. But something that I've really been speaking over myself in this season is, you know what? It's okay to not know everything. It's okay to not have all of the experience. This is an opportunity for me to be stretched and grow and really be challenged. And kind of taking that in a posture of humility too. Like, I don't need to come on the scene and be like, okay, like I need to look like I know how to do everything. I need to, like, project that I'm like equipped in all of these areas. Like, of course, like I have a basis of understanding and a basis of, confidence in what I'm doing. But really, it's being like, you know what? I can learn in this area, or I can be challenged in this area, or, this part that makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to like push myself to really just grow, as a person and in my career. So I think that's how I manage that imposter syndrome. But I do understand what you mean, because sometimes I have those thoughts of like, maybe I'm not who people think I am in like a work setting, right? Like maybe I don't have all of the knowledge that they maybe perceive that I do.
Personally, I don't think I've had imposter syndrome, but I had, like, I guess what comes to mind when I think about this parable a lot is kind of different dynamics in church in the community. So I remember back home, although there was a lot of churches that we were surrounded by, I felt that there was kind of this competition amongst churches in the community. So there wasn't a lot of, I guess, like our church here at home is really good at this. They have this like kind of pillar called like kingdom collaboration. So it's this idea that, there's just one church, the church that Jesus started, and we're just all playing our part as the body of Christ. When I think about this a lot, I think about a lot of times, even in my own life, just full confession, like transparency, where, I'm at church and like sometimes people are sharing things and I kind of tell myself like, dang, I'm glad that that's not me. And I think that's kind of the cultural influence in my life that I've been letting go, where I think sometimes, I mean, unless you guys want to elaborate, but sometimes when people share grievances, I feel like a sense of relief because it's not happening to me, which I think is wrong. But I just wanted to know your guys' thoughts on that.
Sometimes when I hear stuff like that, I don't think, oh, thank goodness that's not me. But sometimes I do think, like, oh, maybe I should be a little more grateful about today, or, the days, like, maybe this has been heavy, on me, or maybe this is something I've
That's a
been
good
struggling
mindset.
with. And yeah, and if, they're telling me, like, oh, so and so just passed away, I've been struggling, with like addiction. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I think I need to clear my eyes and have a little bit better perspective on life and kind of just be grateful. It really could be worse. It really could be harder. And the Lord has protected me from a lot of things. So, and it's not to minimize my problems, but definitely to put it in perspective.
When I hear tough things like that other people are going through, my mindset is like, dang, that's rough. Like, not in like comparative, but just like the reality, like, like that sucks, or like I'm really feel sorry, or I feel like empathy or sympathy for someone in this way. But I don't try to compare, because we all have our version of hard in our lives. But I think it is good to like sit with people that are going through things and really be like, you know what, this is tough. It is tough. The reality, what you're experiencing is tough. But how do we move forward, and really taking that opportunity to kind of grab a hold of them and be like, okay, let's walk through this together. I kind of think more like problem solving, not in terms of I can solve their problems, but more it's like, how do we move forward with grace and support? Something I thought was interesting too about this passage is the prayer itself. Because I don't know if you guys caught it, but there was like no confession in this prayer done by the Pharisee. It's kind of an odd thing to pray, to be like, God, thank you that I'm not like these other people that are horrible and that I do all of these things for you. Like, that's such a weird
I didn't
thing
even
to
feel like
pray.
your prayer. It felt more like a
No,
gloat, like you were gloating to God.
it's like odd.
And kind of condescending to the Lord, because obviously the Lord sees, knows all, he's with you, and he's probably like, dude, you don't think I've been watching you do this stuff? Like, do you think I need like a full report at the end of the week? Tell me the things that you don't want to tell me that are nasty and hard, and let's go from there. Like the other the tax collector was like, yeah, I'm a sinner.
It kind of reminds me of the verses like that at the end of our days, like people are going to go to the Lord and be like, I did this in your name. I did that in your name, Lord. Like I did miracles in your name, Jesus. And he's going to be, depart from me, evildoer, for I've never knew you. And it's like, that's scary.
I always try to think of this stuff in kind of a first person perspective. Let's just say hypothetically you're at church, you know, you do quote unquote the right things, like this Pharisee is kind of being entitled and prideful in, and there's other churchgoers, but they aren't really in a lot of repentance in your perspective, and they just keep sinning. Like, how would you kind of differentiate that from this passage?
When I think of just that point that you made, Tati, when I am at church and I know that I'm walking right in a certain area of my life, right? Because I'm not walking right in all areas of life, but in a certain area, and there's another person that isn't, I'm never like, they're doing all of these things like Jesus. I'm more like thankful that I'm walking right. I'm not really like, oh, like look what they're able to get away with, because I don't have that heart of, I don't want to get away with anything. I want to be as far away from sin as I can and run as close to Jesus as I can. So that's more my mindset of like, I'm better off. Like I feel grateful and thankful that I'm walking so closely in the Lord in this area. I do think where this might, when I'm trying to think of in my own life, like have you guys ever been at church and the pastor preaches a sermon and you think of somebody else? Like you're like, this person, like I try to tell them they be doing some of this stuff, and
Them
like
spiritual slaps in the face.
or this is a message, you know what I mean, that XY person needs to hear, or like like I wish this and that. And so, you know, I think it is good to want to send something someone's way, you know, to encourage them and stuff, but to really be like, no, let me take a look at my own life first and examine my own heart, right? The own log in my eye before the speck in someone else's.
Yeah, I like that example because I think that happens really often in church. I mean, because I feel the posture of the Pharisee isn't seeking the Lord. More so, he's trying to justify his, I guess, title to the world by having this, like, I don't know how you want to call it, justified conversation prayer with the Lord, but it doesn't fly, you know?
I actually want to share a verse because sometimes I have to be careful because you don't want to get into that comparing, like, oh, look at this person is doing and stuff. Because at the end of the day, you don't know what they're going home and doing off by themselves. Are they repenting? Are they crying out to the Lord? Do they know they have a struggle?
I like what we're saying here. I think I would like to like change the conversation though to the tax collector. I think a lot of times we kind of start, you know, circling what the Pharisee did or says because a lot of people relate to that side of the story, mainly because everyone's kind of on a good day, but you know, there are our brothers and sisters who maybe they're having a rough day and they come to the Lord. And how do you really, you know, bring all of your sin and turmoil to God? I mean, you have to remember the tax collector is working a job that isn't socially acceptable, especially to the religious, I guess, world. So, how does Jesus say that that person left justified versus the other?
I think probably because he took on the most humble form of admitting that he was wrong, that he's not doing things correctly, and acknowledging he's like, I've messed up. I am a sinner and I need help. And I think that's also another like big thing is sometimes it is hard to ask for help, or it's hard to acknowledge like I'm doing this in my life, this isn't right, I don't know what to do. And so I think he kind of just he literally laid it all out there for God. He was vulnerable enough for God, but he took it to God enough to know because he could trust God with it. He knew that if anyone was going to save him, that it was going to be God. He could have went to anyone. He could have went to the Pharisee, but he didn't. He went to God because he knew that was the person that was going to save him.
And I think too, it's such a beautiful thing when you read the difference in the tax collector's prayer, right? His prayer is very simple, very earnest. It's, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. And it's just this realization of that like repentance. For the last couple of years, I don't know if anyone listening has seen that like a lot of people in like witchcraft or kind of really dark things have come to faith. And it makes me think of that in terms of quote unquote the tax collector, this idea of some people, you know, have a lot of like heavy sins, heavy burdens, but they are seeking after God's heart and they're trying to shed all of that past, all of their like brokenness, and aiming towards Jesus. And they really come from this place of, hey, I know what it's like to be super, super low and be involved in all these other things. Like, God, be merciful to me, for I'm a sinner. And then on the flip side, there's people who maybe don't have as much. We all have our dirtiness. We all have like our trash bags, you know what I mean, in our life. But maybe like it looks different, or it isn't as much as what society would deem. But because they don't have all of that, they come from a place of like, oh, like I don't need God, or like I'm perfect in my own eyes, or I am good, I'm a good person. And so it's that like duality that I think is so beautiful when someone comes to the point where it's like, I'm not good, I've done horrible things, or I've fallen short, or I've missed the mark. Let's discuss just that last verse. I'll just reread it. 14, I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted. How do you guys see that play out in kind of society and life and your relationships?
You know, it's actually funny because I was reading Matthew, and I left off with this exact verse, like talking about being humbled and exalted. And when we discussed that this is the verse that we were going to read, I was like, wow, how fitting. But I think like how it connects to today's society, I think it really does I think you see a lot of it by the fruit that is produced by a person. And I think it goes and ties into everything we've talked about with the arrogance and the confidence. I think the way that a person presents themselves, I think the way that a person holds themselves, even by the people that they have around them, I think can be very telling. Where I think sometimes if a person is prideful, saying this and that, you know, they want to say, I have this friend, I have that friend. But at the end of the day, they have the title, but there's no depth. There's no intensity, and there's no real relationship. Rather, a person who has been humbled and can admit and all these things has deeper relationships. They're producing this fruit, being that light. They're showing their joy, and it makes people want to be around them. So I do kind of think that is the difference between someone who needs to be humbled and someone who is humble.
And I think too, it's funny how we think, right? We really think if I puff myself up, I'll be like exalted, like I'll be superior, like I'll be just perceived in this area. Like I need to like display my confidence. I need to display my abilities or my accomplishments in order for me to like aim and have success, or whatever that looks like. And it's like really the opposite. Like that just shows a lot of what you're saying, Vic. Like your fruit like shows a lot of your character, that you are trying to like mull up this like whole image to like exalt yourself in front of other people and be praised. Whereas really it's the opposite. And that's what we see in the person of Jesus. Like everyone thought that the Messiah would come and like defeat Rome and like do all these things and be a grand soldier, general, or whatever, you know, like someone like super exalted, right? And that he would come and just establish his presence and his dominance and his authority. And that is the opposite of what Jesus did. He did establish his dominance and authority and his presence as a humble servant, as one born of a virgin, as born in a barn, like washing the feet of the disciples. Like he literally was he was a refugee. He was basically homeless at times, just living out in the wilderness. He lowered himself. And that's what's so beautiful about the person of Jesus is you can display strength. You can display, you know, just the confidence of the Lord in and through you as just a humble servant. And that's what we're all called to be. Like one, we're like slaves to Christ, right? But also servants to one another. And so I just want to encourage those listening, like that is where the joy is found. Like that is where our strength is found.
Well, there you have it, folks. The parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector. I hope you guys had an amazing time with us and that you gained something as we gained just sharing with one another, just being friends. Hope you feel one of us. But now it's time for our favorite segment with Tatiana, Hot Takes.
Musicals are the ultimate form of cinematic storytelling.
No. I would say
cinematic. It's not really cinematic.
Okay, like better than just a regular movie. That's kind of more where I was going with that.
It's hard to say. I think musicals are more like, I would argue that musicals on Broadway are better than musicals on the big screen.
Look, not everything can be a musical, so I'm going to say no. Because, look, John Wick.
Crystal Space.
I know, I knew Crystal
no,
Space,
but
imagine
I think what
like
she's
John
doing,
Wick and trying to make it into a musical.
I mean, Vic, that's not what she's saying. She's saying musicals in a play form are better than musicals in a movie. I think that's what you're getting.
That's what Juan said.
What are you saying?
I'm saying like musicals are like one of the best top type of like category of movies.
Oh my gosh. I'm mega confused. We were going in a totally different direction. You're saying just the genre of movies, musicals are one of the best. That is 100% yes.
Okay,
Sound
what
of
about?
Music,
Do you think?
Wicked,
Tell
Phantom
me,
of the Opera, Les Miserables.
Do
all
not
of the Disney
throw
movies.
Phantom of the Opera in there.
Why?
It is a
That's
musical.
a musical. Are
Well,
you okay,
would you
Vic?
guys
I
say
know, but I feel
musicals
like
are
it
in your
was
top 3
dissuading.
genres of movies? Do you feel like
Yes.
Okay, what's the other 2 if they're in the top 3?
Prince of Egypt.
No,
okay, Vic?
genre of music.
You mean
Genre
movies?
of movie?
Yeah, genre of movie. So like a
rom-com,
musical
I don't know,
would be
comedy and action.
So
Maybe the other two.
So Crystal, so Tati, you'd be comedy, action, and then musical.
No.
I knew this would be a hot take for Crystal. I hate musicals. They're not realistic, and I love movies that have at least some like.
But there are
realistic.
musicals isn't like a genre in terms of like the content. It's a genre in terms of how it's displayed. So there are plenty of there are plenty of movies that are cliche and not realistic. It being a musical doesn't make it non-realistic. It just makes it that's how it's displaying the content is through song.
I don't like musicals. I just find it awkward that they're just like in a scene, like you could be at a coffee shop and then you just start getting up and starting to dance and sing. I wouldn't even consider it a top 3 for me.
That's why it's better on Broadway.
Well, I know Crystal really liked the Wicked movie.
I love the Wicked movie. Guys, if none of you have watched The Prince of Egypt, you need to put that on your Spotify immediately.
But the Prince of Egypt is I thought you meant the Prince of Persia. I'm like, the Prince of Persia is
the Prince
not
of Egypt is a musical. Are you okay?
You know better than beautiful song.
You believe.
Wrong movie.
Oh, you know what? That's right. That is Joseph King of Dreams.
Vic, get it together. I was singing the right one. I sang When You Believe.
It is. Joseph King of Dreams, also another really phenomenal one. So
musicals are great. I love them. They are feel good. They are happy.
I find cartoons as its own category though. I don't consider them like the same musicals than like Wicked or something.
Did you watch Wicked?
No.
Okay, well, this is why Tati, you don't get to participate in this hot take.
I've watched other musicals and I don't like them.
Well, you guys will have to let us know. Yeah, what musical did you watch and not
Definitely watched La La Land, and I thought it was.
I didn't like La La Land either, but that is its own thing. That's not like a true like feel good. See,
okay,
wait, hold on,
wait. What's another one? Hold on.
I think I tried to watch Les Miserables. What I don't know how to pronounce that one. I tried to watch that one and I didn't like it.
No,
either.
you're going in too hard.
You're going in way too hard.
La La Land.
You're talking about deep historical thing. What you didn't like about it was the deep history because you don't care about.
Also, you said realistic. That was realistic.
That was literally history.
I just don't like musicals.
I wouldn't even pay those 2 you mentioned were not good.
Okay, Les Mis is good, but it's not a good starter musical.
It's not your feel good happy hee hee like.
I would also say Sound of Music's pretty hard to watch too.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I watched that one too. They forced me to watch it. I hated it.
That movie is so
that
good.
That one's amazing. Come on.
That one's amazing.
No.
That's like peak content right there.
Maria.
The only reason I know that Crystal would definitely love musicals.
West Side Story.
I didn't like West Side Story either.
That was meh.
The plot is
In
dumb,
the Heights,
but the musical In the Heights is amazing. Tati, did you watch In the Heights?
Yes, I did. I did not like it.
For what reason?
I just don't like musicals.
Tati, what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie? Tangled.
That's a musical! Oh my gosh!
I told you the cartoon ones don't count.
Okay, give me a
Sorry, I just blew up everyone's ears that's listening.
Give me a non-cartoon movie that you like.
Non-cartoon movie? Knives Out, the first one.
Tati.
And you want realistic? You think that's realistic?
It's a murder mystery.
Tati.
It's a murder mystery. That could happen.
Okay,
Tati,
Tati, I
Tati,
think
if
you're
someone is dead, they would
disqualified.
call the cops, and then we'd all be going home.
yeah, that case would have been solved in 2 minutes. Chris Evans, immediately. Spoiler.
Vic, don't spoil
How
it.
dare you? Cut that out. I don't like musicals.
Tati, you disqualified yourself. I'm sorry, I love you, but you've disqualified yourself.
I just don't like musicals.
Okay, well, for all of us
Alright.
musical lovers out there, please let us know your favorite
Love us.
musical. And hey, listen, I have a lisp sometimes. Just kidding. Let us know your favorite musical. And here's what we're gonna do. We have a Discord where at times we have gotten all together and watched it on Discord. And whatever movie gets the most comments or most likes, we'll all get together and watch it together.
City life is better than country life.
It depends. Do you want access to
Where does the
healthcare?
suburban area fall into? Is that more city?
It's kind of middle.
Yeah.
I'm team
It's in the
suburban.
middle. No, but the option was city or country.
Country life, there's not a lot to do, but there is a lot of quality time with other people. Probably cheaper living, probably not as much crime, but also less access to career opportunities, probably less access to quick healthcare at times.
Okay, Crystal, you're going way too in depth.
This is the social worker in me.
You're doing a little too much of a deep dive. I
You
think it's more of a
took-
preference.
You took so much joy out of this question, Crystal. In my head, I was like, oh, if I did a country life, like I could have a beautiful wraparound porch, I could have some horses in the back. No, Crystal, you're going to have a zero income. You're not going to have a good job. If you want to go to the hospital, guess what? Go out back to the barn. Like,
go to the vet that's there.
yeah, go to the horse doctor.
You know what? I'll take my chances with the horse doctor.
I don't think I could survive that.
Watch them say, "Hey, neighbor."
All right,
Tati,
with that,
I'm not gonna
have a good night,
acknowledge-
everyone. I hope you. Tati, you say jokes like this, but you can't handle a musical?
Yeah!
Realistic, Tati! Cliche, Tati!
My joke was funny. My joke was funny.
To who? The horses? Okay.
I'm voting for country life. I think when I think about it, I'll go for country life.
I think everyone's fairy tale is country life.
Not everyone. Some people
Some
like
people
the city
want
life.
that
I
New
like
York
city
type
life.
living.
Tati could not do country.
No.
Absolutely not.
She
would
needs
not
her
survive.
Alexa, her iPad, her AirPods. Like,
Dude, I need my live concerts. I would die if there's no events near me.
Dude,
What night in the
just
country?
sing to the goats.
That would-
Bah!
All right, everyone. We definitely had some hot takes. We love the hot takes, so thank you for all that, Tati. But unfortunately, guys, we are at the end of our episode. But don't worry, there will be more to come. But since we are in this new series of countercultural, if there are any stories in the Bible that you might think are countercultural or that you want us to touch on, please put them in the comments below because we would love to talk about it and give our opinions, give any advice or wisdom, and say what we think. Let the Lord speak. And if there's anything you guys want to add, again, put it down below because you're in the One of Us community. So please let this be a space where you guys can speak and talk and feel loved and join right in. So we love you guys. We appreciate you. Have an amazing week and we'll see you next time. Bye.